lost my lighter. Oh, no, I got it.
Good, because it's time. What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? It's 420 in California. This is Reefer Revolution Live.
But I think in terms of marijuana, and legalization, I think that should be a state issue, state by state. I think it's up to the states. I'm a states person. I think it should be up to the states, absolutely. You know, I know people that are very, very sick, and for whatever reason, the marijuana really helps them.
For whatever reason.
People don't smoke marijuana.
Well, the good people on the U.S. Court of Appeals of the D.C. Circuit handed Dr. Sue Sisley and other researchers a procedural victory in that new federal cannabis lawsuit we reported on last week. The DEA has got 30 days to file a response to their petition. And keep it brief, 7,800 words or less, please. Tulsi brings up Kamala's weed hypocrisy. And is hemp and CBD moving lawmakers towards full legalization and descheduling? We checked out Weedmaps Museum of Weed. And Mel Franks gets 2 non-growers growing. Who's in?
I'm all in.
Oh, I knew
This is the time to go all in on cannabis.
Yes, it is indeed the time to go in, like all the people over at Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network.
I do have a little dirt coming
You
out.
guys really are novices
Yes.
here, right? That's every step of the way here. I got to watch you.
Every single step. I mean, really, we are not,
Right.
we do not know from this at all.
Okay.
But boy, I can move furniture.
No.
Or no,
We're going
newspaper.
Right.
Babe, do you have any newspaper?
What's up, Reefer Revolutionaries? I'm Dave Conan, and this is indeed Reefer Revolution Live, the show where we spark up, talk about cannabis news, politics of pot, and marijuana in the mainstream media, with blunt commentary from you folks in the chat. And of course, my partner in all things life and cannabis, Coach Chela.
Hi. Hey, everybody.
Hey, is Coach Chela? Make sure, kids, everybody let us know Coach Chela's audio is working. Hello, how are you?
Sure. I'm good. How are you guys?
Jackpot's chilling over there. We got Jackpot in the house.
Jackpot.
Oscar's under the camera. You
Sweet
can't
guy.
see Oscar.
Sweet guy.
What's up, everybody? Bunch of folks jumping in the chat already.
Such a good day.
Oh, my gosh. Look at everybody. MDN Niles, Ugly Adams, Laura P. Blaster Master jumping in.
JoJo
Vegan-
420.
Who's that?
JoJo 420.
JoJo 420 was early in. Vegan Metro in there.
Yes.
Mick 88 or Mike 88. Ugly
Small
Adams.
Tubes.
Debbie D.
Laura P.
Small Tubes, I think, was first in again
Yeah, Laura
today.
P.
Small Tubes always jumping in there real quick. Ugly Adams in there too. Welcome,
Good to see
everybody.
everybody. Good to see you.
Wow, that was, of course, what a week.
MDN Niles.
What a big week.
Yes.
And last few days have been quite dynamic. Things just get bigger, getting bigger and better and better.
Ellen Blasey. Hey.
Hey, Ellen, awesome, one of our patrons. You can actually, if you guys caught our live stream on Wednesday, our full live stream, you caught the live action of us getting a lesson. You saw a little clip from at the opening there from the world famous Mel Frank, who just happens to be a neighbor of ours in the general area.
We're so lucky that
so lucky.
We live in LA, and there's lots of really amazing people who have been foundational in this space, and they live or come through here and are generous with their time, and they're generous with sharing their knowledge and their learning from them. So we're super stoked, and Mel Frank was kind enough to be willing to come over and show us how to plant, and it was really awesome.
Oh, it was.
And we're such noobs.
You guys really are novices.
It's pretty
yes.
funny.
Yes, we are. Absolutely. We are Reefer Revolutionaries as consumers, but not as growers. And of course, growing is apparently getting harder and harder, and is a revolutionary act as well. So the young toddlers, ladies, girls came into our lives, and we reached out, and the planets aligned. And Mel Frank came by on Wednesday, and you saw it live here. And if you are a patron, you can watch that entire live stream from soup to nuts over on the Patreon page. But we're gonna offer
Warts
you
and all.
warts and all, right out of the can, right out of onto the live stream, jumping around. Thanks so much for Farmer Jed coming on over and helping us.
That's right, Jed
get it
Souter,
together.
Thank you.
We're going to show at 5 o'clock hour. We've got a nice tight 30 minutes of our experience with Mel Frank. So if you missed it on Wednesday and you're not a Patreon and you haven't watched it, you get to see you'll get to see something new because it's actually a whole new video from the editing that I did this week. So we're going to do that at 5 o'clock. So stick around, subscribe, get notifications. We are multi-streaming on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, DLive, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. So wherever you're joining us from, wherever you are, do whatever you do. Thumbs up, like, share, throw a fruit at it, which I think is what they do over on DLive. Fruits. So wherever you are, wherever you're watching, do what you do and share the channel.
We'll take it.
We enjoy doing this show and talking about cannabis news and the politics of pot every week, and of course, cannabis cures and care all across the country and the world. So welcome everybody to the show. Subscribe, ring the bell so when we do go live with very special guests and in our new garden studio, it's quite nice in the morning. So we're going to enjoy hopefully more interviews in the garden studio as the show progresses. So thank you guys for joining us. Brian Arbor in the house. Welcome. Cannabis Sativa is also joining us. Welcome everybody. We of course last night we had fun.
Yeah. We had so much fun.
We had a blast last night.
Yep.
And I think Chela, did you just
I didn't post anything
Insta about it?
I didn't Insta.
Oh, you didn't
I'm such
Insta
a
about
person.
it yet. So,
terrible person.
We Insta about Wednesday. Our Mel Frank show.
Yep.
This week has been very just sort of go with the flow and see what comes up, and some very cool things came up, and one of which was the opening night. Really, the party was the night before, sort of
it's a series of opening events. Lots of people to thank, lots of people to go and. But no, the big star-studded thing with all the fancy people was mostly the night before.
Right.
But last night there were stars.
There were stars.
Studying.
Oh, yes. We saw that high couple.
We saw Dr. Dina.
Favorite Dr. Dina was there. Yeah.
We met some folks. It was all folks who work in the cannabis space, so that was cool.
Cannabosses were in the house.
Cannabosses. We had people who own dispensaries, people who have brands.
As a matter of fact,
we saw Lit Club there. Jed from Lit Club. And we saw Nicole West, of course. We hung out with her and Ariel Clark, and it was great. I had a really lovely time.
What is the actual name of this space? Do you remember?
It's called the Museum of Weed.
Museum of Weed, but where is it? I mean,
it's on Cahuenga. Cahuenga and Melrose.
It's in a space, right? The installation.
No, it was an empty space. It's a
Really?
pop-up.
Oh, wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. It is now a space.
It's there till October.
Yes, they're hoping to extend, but yes.
And there we are at the front of the Step and Repeat. Chela stepping up to take pictures of folks in front of the Step and Repeat.
Yes, well, I was media. Dave took the best picture, I think. Yeah, really cute. Thanks, babe.
Well lit. Nice lighting there at the...
on the Step and Repeat?
Step and Repeat.
And that was when you enter. That was cool.
This was the end of that stairway, which somebody just stepped on it when I started. Sat on it when I started filming.
It's all good.
Eating her nachos.
It's all good.
There were some snacks.
Yeah, it was really lovely.
And if you guys, last night, I streamed from there. We streamed it a little bit. There was some activism out in the lobby. You could...
and inside the installation as well.
And inside the installation.
As you might see.
Chela entering. Here's the entrance. They had to limit people going in because there were a lot of people there.
Yeah, no, that way you get to
hang
be
out
able to see the experience.
So it has like 7 or 6 exhibits?
7.
7 exhibits. The first one being
pre-prohibition.
Yeah, pre-prohibition, which was super cool.
It's a nice balance. It gives you a little history of hemp. It's accessible to the average consumer. If you stood and read all the things to read, you would come out with a nice basic understanding of how we got to where we are. Maybe not as deep into the racist and classist undertones, but, if you can read between the lines, you can get it. But it was, I thought it was really good. And it ends, well, I don't want to get ahead of us. Are you going to?
This is really cool. I thought one of the coolest things, it's a samurai armor. And hemp was used all as the lining and all throughout the suit.
Very cool.
And, of course, did you know George Washington? This is a back of a tell George Washington grew hemp. So I'm all in. So they had, and there's some clothing back there, hemp fashion. Everybody had an article of hemp clothing or multiples because it was so strong. There's George again with didn't have much description on that device, but obviously some type of hemp farming device. It was there. Thrasher or squeezer. I think you got to soak it. Mel said you got to soak this stuff.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. It's very labor intensive. But who were you talking to there, Chela? That guy with the pin. He had a badge on his pin.
Yeah, he's like security. It's undercover. Well, not undercover. Off-duty LAPD.
I see.
And I asked him, if it had been busy during the day, and he had just come on at 4, so, couldn't really say.
They had the original Betsy Ross flag there, was it?
No, that flag was made of hemp.
No, yeah. Duplicate.
Yeah.
I don't know if hers was that big either, but apparently that is made of hemp, but as was the original flag.
Maybe it was.
Chela,
it had to be big on a field.
Ecstatic.
About
this museum.
It was really, it was good, and I was glad to see that there were so many people there, and they were all excited too, and it does get better and better. At the end, it's just mind-blowingly good, so you'll get there. I don't want to get ahead of us.
Well, I don't want to, I'm not, you guys can watch a bunch of the video on our visit to the Reefer Madness Room and the Hemp Museum, take you from about here on a little video journey, and we go into the final room. It has all the great science. Oh man, they had
my God,
the terpenes hanging from the wall. You could smell.
It tells you all about the endocannabinoid system in an interactive display, and you can. The very final one is you can kind of make your own terpenes. You can plug in these different little blocks that turn on the terpenes and blow into this little thing, and it gives you a visual display of what that might just sort of look like.
Here's what the entourage effect looks like with this combination of terpenes, and
colors.
We made our Alzheimer's prevention mix.
Yes, yeah. Well, we're totally guessing at because we're not doctors or scientists.
We're just throwing stuff against the wall.
Yeah, but I'd try it. I'd totally try it.
And that's that in the back of this picture with the Cannabis.
Oh, this was
the
fun.
Women of Cannabis.
This was really fun. Nicole and Ariel, we ran into them at the end of the thing, and we hung out for a little bit, and that was great.
And that's the entourage machine. And they had some very knowledgeable people there that talked
docents.
About
the docents,
real docents.
were very, very knowledgeable.
I mean, it is a top-notch. It's really a top-notch. Really good picture of you guys.
Yeah, they're really doing a good job.
Top-notch museum, telling the history and the future of cannabis. Really, lots of interactive stuff, and it's $35.
Yeah, I'd like it to be a little less. Maybe there'll be some Groupons or senior discounts. That'd be nice.
Yeah,
I'd like them to work with some senior groups, like AARP discount or something.
I think they want to stay there longer than October, because right now it's running through October. And definitely check out the little preview video we did. It's really cool. But if you can get out there, you got $35. If we come across any coupons or anything or any discounts, we'll let you guys know. And if you're in the Southern California area, but it's really, I mean, we've seen terrific. A few cannabis sort of hemp museums, and the Emerald Cup had some displays, and there's a nice museum installation up in Santa Rosa right now.
It's lovely. It's small, but it's lovely.
It's a small installation. That's really nice.
But very thorough, and it tells the very political reasons why cannabis became illegal, which is nice.
which is nice.
Yeah.
So, but if you can do it, it's very cool to check out. I would highly recommend checking out Weedmaps Museum of Weed, popping up in Hollywood off of Cahuenga through October, and very cool. Very cool space. And I wish them great luck.
I'd like to go again, actually.
I would too.
And I'd like to interview people that are coming out to see what they do.
Because we didn't do the audio tour. There's a really cool audio tour that you
I
can
want to
hook
do
up.
that.
So I want to go through the whole thing just as a visitor, really, and like you say, we'll interview people out in front to see what their opinion is.
Yeah, their thoughts.
Very cool, kids. All right, that was our that was last night. That was our last night's adventure at the Museum of Weed. So that was very cool indeed. We're going to get into the news a little bit now, and we're going to move quickly through the news because it's a big week in news. But we've got a big video to show you guys. I'm very excited about with Mel Frank. So that's going to be in the 5 o'clock hour. But getting into the news, guys, if you want to get the breaking news I find throughout the week, you can follow me over at DC420LA on Twitter. I do most of my tweeting over on Twitter. I don't know where you do yours, but that's where I'm doing mine because that's where they force us to do tweeting. So that's where I do it, at DC420LA. You can also follow the show at Reefer Rev Show on Twitter, on all of the socials, Reefer Rev Show and DC420LA. You can follow us on all the socials, but Twitter is at DC420LA is where I do most of my breaking news tweets. So you can follow me over there. And then those end up over at DC420LA.com, a Cannabis Chronicle, where I put out 1 week's worth of the news that we find the most interesting in the cannabis space across the country and the world. And if you want to sign up for the email, you get it just once, late Saturday night or Sunday morning, whenever I get around to pushing the button. But that's the news we talk about on the show at 420. So if you want to follow along in another window, or suggest a story to talk about or something that you found interesting in the Chronicle, we can talk about that. And there it is in Variety, covering It's a Stone World After All. Weedmaps Museum of Weed offers a trip through time. Variety and a number of media outlets picking up the Weedmaps Museum of Weed. There's Tommy in front of my favorite installations, the Just Say No installation. That was pretty cool. So I guess he was there. He wasn't there last night. He was there the first night. Oh, was that... who is that? What's her name? What's her name? Paris Hilton? Is that Paris? Who that is? But
does it not say there who it is? I'll follow along in a second window.
You'll know who it is in a second. But Variety covering it. That with the psychedelic room was pretty cool. That's that picture of us in our video. That was a fun room. So there you go. Variety, everybody picking up. Weedmaps, of course, not new to controversy. Weedmaps. They're really kind of the one that was getting into trouble for putting out the non-licensed dispensary addresses and contacts. They were sued, won in court, and basically keep doing what they're doing. But, we got some swag. We got an air freshener that kind of has that pine sol smell, which I guess maybe is that a church? Did yours smell like that too? But that's a standard air freshener. But maybe is that linalool, or not linalool, but that new one that I was excited about?
I don't know who this is.
You can always use papers.
Tyler Henry. No, this is not Tyler Henry.
They gave us a battery.
Which is awesome.
With a new...
fun swag.
Select landfill.
I'm not sure who this is. I'm sure it's some lovely lady.
Battery through my little wedding cake.
Well...
on there. This is our favorite one.
That's a pretty awesome little gifty, swaggy thing. Do you guys know what this is? Can you see what it is?
Case of emergency.
It's pretty cool.
Open bag. For those of you who never did this, you get your toilet paper tube with the Museum of Weed logo. You get your dryer sheet, which you double up for extra protection. You put over the dryer, the cone, the toilet paper. You find this, usually you find this stuff you can find in your house. And then your rubber band, you see.
Or when you go to your parents' house at Christmas time, or your sister-in-law's. I'm just saying.
So in case of emergency, you can bust out.
Isn't that funny? Oh, you're going to demonstrate for the people. This is good.
Pine Sol.
There you go.
So that's how that works. That's one of the best cool swag gifts I've seen.
That is a fun little gift.
Oh,
very clever.
Got a hat. Museum of Weed hat.
Vegan Metro has one of those select batteries. It's a nice little pen.
Cool.
Techno Biscuit High.
There you go. Wow. Don't inhale. Do that. Don't do it that way.
No. That's yuck.
What else we get? Papers?
I can't type.
That's it.
Oh, we got a lot of stuff.
Nice little bag.
There's a hat.
Thing in the background there. So you get swag at all these things. Landfill, basically. Extra bags.
No. Lots of bags for your grocery shopping.
For your grocery shopping. So that's it. We were part of history, we didn't make it in the news, but we were the news, I guess, technically. I guess technically we are the news. Tulsi's live stream was just cut by YouTube. Really? Well, Tulsi's in the news, guys. Let's get into it, shall we?
Yes, let's get in.
Since Brian Arbor has just brought it up, of course.
He's like, let's do this news thing.
We'll
let's go.
We'll talk about the DEA story in a minute because that's pretty big. But basically, they don't talk about weed. Well, I guess it kind of comes up. But I wasn't really expecting cannabis to come up in these debates.
Boy, howdy it did.
Because they're all for it, essentially, except Biden, which I guess,
That's a big deal.
And, new transitions to liking weed and legalization. So, of course, Tulsi came up with a smackdown that everybody was talking about, got her the most Googled, and apparently pushed her over the edge for 130 donors. Now, it was reported and then retracted and then reported again by Tulsi. So, I guess somebody broke the news before they wanted Tulsi to do it, and but she made it to 130. Now, if she'll get the polling they need, and there's very specific polls, I don't know. But let's just take a quick look at what was said by the candidate. If I can find it, here it is. Let's watch a couple of these little videos and let's see what we're talking about. So they shut down her YouTube. Well, maybe this might be why.
Congresswoman Jones. And I inhaled. I did inhale. It was a long time ago. But yes.
So if it was legalized all throughout the country and medicinal, would you do it?
Listen, I think that it gives a lot of people joy, and we need more joy. As the elected Attorney General of California,
she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
And I am proud of that work.
She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California.
And I am proud of that work.
Innocent people, you actually blocked evidence from being revealed that would have freed them.
And I am proud of that work.
And the people who suffered under your reign as prosecutor, you owe them an apology.
That last video being put out by Tulsi.
This drug.
No, not right now. Not right now, Jeff. Back in the box. Back in the box, Jeff.
And then Kamala goes and has this bill that has support in both houses that, is so good.
The Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act, a.k.a. the total repeal of unconstitutional.
That's Tulsi's.
That's what you're talking about. Oh, you mean Kamala?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She introduced her own. Oh, right.
Yes.
Last week, right.
Yes, and there's legislation.
We talked about it last week.
Companion legislation in the House for it.
Right.
So that's way more likely than Tulsi's clean descheduling.
Yes.
Because she doesn't have companion in the Senate.
And it's but it also has 5% tax, but it does, it's all backtracking. It's all politics. Michael Moore, other than wanting Michelle Obama to run, is pretty much on point with his two things that he came up with this week. And one of which is you put ballot initiatives on the ballots in states that are going to get progressives to the polls, no matter who gets nominated, because somebody, probably that Kamala or Joe, is going to get nominated. Maybe somebody else, but essentially, if you're going to get people to the polls, and especially in that instance, you need ballot initiatives that are going to get people to the polls. And he didn't say it this time; he said it before. But Michael Moore, he said, do what we did in Michigan. Well, what they did in Michigan was put cannabis on the ballot in Michigan. And it won big. It won more than the candidates. So, yes, that's why 2018 was big for Michigan, was because cannabis was on the ballot. And now that's what you got to do. Now that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing across the state. Florida this week in the Chronicle. Where'd it go? I just clicked the wrong button. Here we go. In the Chronicle, Florida stepped closer to legal cannabis on 2020 ballot, hits its first milestone. Nebraska is collecting signatures. Last week we reported on all three of those states that don't have any laws. Idaho and one of the Dakotas. Don't have any laws. It's like nothing. All bad. Everything. No CBD either. They have getting ballot initiatives. They're getting signatures to get recreational, in those states. Yeah. So now is this all this talk, all these presidential candidates, all this conflict, Cory Booker calling out Biden, in the debates this week. The story, of course, I'm referring to is out of Marijuana Moment. Kyle Yeager writing, Democratic presidential candidates clash on marijuana debate. So, let's see if this is a
Detroit. I want to. Detroit. I want to.
That's not working. But Booker confronted Biden. And Tulsi confronted Harris on their, basically, Harris's new transition, her hypocrisy, essentially. Tulsi is calling out Kamala the cop's hypocrisy, calling her a cop, basically.
Well, just pointing out her record on how she has been.
So, there's no need to get into personal attacks. There's no need to get into, any of the personal stuff, really. All you got to do is point out the record. And of course, her response and her team's response was, you're a Russian. And a Syrian apologist as well. As opposed to, literally, she had, I think, 3 chances this week, Harris did, to respond. Right after the debate and a couple of times after that on media opportunities. And she did not respond. She just responded the same way she did, basically being proud of her record and doing what she did, like keep Steve Mnuchin out of jail. That's really top of my list.
Yeah.
The stuff that's come out more recently is pretty devastating with regards to that, since she announced finding out all about, the school truancy, lockups and all that stuff we didn't know at the time. We knew about Mnuchin, that's for sure. So interesting. All of this talk about cannabis by the newcomers to cannabis. We've seen this story before. Nothing is new in politics. We've seen this play before. They run to the left during the primaries, they get elected, and then they run back to the center as quickly as they can. And the only one I don't think is going to do that, is the one that's been consistent the most, and that's Bernie Sanders. Of the top runners, and I love that map this week, actually. Have you saw that map, Chela, of where all of the donors that Bernie has compared to all of the other candidates?
I didn't see that.
It's a map the New York Times put out, and it's where are all of the individual donors of all of the candidates. and I don't have it, but Bernie literally
because that's another show.
It's not a show, but Bernie's literally all over the entire country, and all the other candidates are just in their state patches, but no one shows up. They had to do another map without Bernie so all of the candidates could show up on the map because Bernie devastated them all. And Bernie's got California, no Kamala in California.
Wow.
No, Beto's got Texas. Klobuchar's got up in Minnesota.
Wow.
But Bernie's got all the donors in California. So pretty fascinating.
That's awesome.
I know, it's pretty cool. But Cannabis 2020, whether it's on the ballot or it's being discussed by the candidates, it's being used for politics. Let's exploit that. Let's make it happen. Let's get this done. Let's get some descheduling happen.
Descheduling.
I mean, look at some of the other stories going on this week. Up on the Hill, we have another story out of Marijuana Moment. Kyle Yeager, key GOP Senate chairman, says it's time to fix marijuana industry banking issues. Let me repeat where that came from. The Senate. Key GOP Senate chairman says it's time to fix marijuana banking issues. So you got that. Then you've got Illinois Center. They're getting legalization this very toot sweet, very quickly. Lots of stories from Illinois in the afterburn this week. Illinois senator introduces marijuana research bill. Dick Durbin, Democrat. Here the Democrats finally getting on board. You see, the Democrats aren't our friends with cannabis. They never have been, really.
Nope.
None of these guys supported cannabis. And I really don't think they do. It's all political. It's public pressure. So that's good.
Keep up the pressure.
Keep up the pressure. So we got Dick Durbin. And then we've got the CBD problem. Lawmakers push federal agencies to free up the CBD industry. A group of lawmakers sent a letter to the heads of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Food and Drug Administration this week describing the economic potential of the CBD market and encouraging the development of regulations for the compound. 3 months ago, it was going to take years for the FDA to come with up any rules. Mitch had a meeting with the outgoing guy, said, you got to do it. We're not going to be able to come up with anything for years. But lo and behold, within like 30 days is the magic number right now. Within 30 days, you get, you get quick action by the FDA. They have actually have said, or it's been leaked, it's been reported, that they're going to have rules by the end of the summer. So they couldn't do it. It was going to take years for the FDA to come up with rules for CBD. Congress has to act. Congress isn't going to act. Too complicated. So the FDA is going to come up with rules probably by the end of the summer. And they're going to be super overreaching. They're going to completely overreach in their first pass, and we're going to have to take it to court, and we're going to end up with court over all this stuff because everybody is, now it's like the rules are coming and everybody has to basically slow it down, sell, get established, get into the market, and rules on the ground. No, I forget what it's called. But anyway, they're the horse is out of the barn with CBD, and the lawmakers are trying to catch up as quickly as possible.
And try to slow it down as much as possible.
Well, why would they want to slow it down, Chela? It's worth so much money.
Because it'll disrupt every industry that exists.
Oh, so one part of the people want to make money, and there's another part that know that somebody's going to make money, and it ain't going to be them. I see. That makes more sense as to why. Not that yet. Sorry. You okay? Need a little Heimlich? As long as you're coughing, you're good. Unfortunately, I was trying to bring up your light at the time, so I got stuck. With you and coughing. It's okay. It's a smoking show. Speaking of which, I'm going to spark up another. while we get into the next story. Let's get into our main story before we get into our video of us getting schooled by Mel Frank on how to grow. So some of you may have remembered from last week, we had a story that talked about a new federal lawsuit in town that had recently been filed. Now, we have a little experience with federal lawsuits here on the show because we've been following one for a while. And that one is kind of hung up in a court of appeals, in a circuit court of appeals, Second Circuit Court of Appeals. Lo and behold, the second new federal cannabis lawsuit comes up. And that gets filed by, of course, Dr. Sue Sisley.
Badass.
That we saw a video of last week from Microscopes and Machines. Mm-hmm. And quick side note, both of those panels that we went to, the first ones that we went to, the full panel of Dr. Sue Sisley is up at Future Cannabis Project, as well as Dr. Help me with his name.
Pierre Godroy.
Geoffroy. Pierre Geoffroy, Canadian doctor using cannabis with the elder community up in Canada, and both of those full panels are up. Meanwhile, back to the lawsuit. So we get a federal cannabis lawsuit, new one, filed at the end of June. It gets reported at the beginning of July. We reported last week. Because we basically had a video with Sue Sisley from Microscopes and Machines, and she was in the news, and it was in the Chronicle, and we reported that basically they filed this lawsuit, and we'll see if they get a friendly judge. It may turn out well. Well, apparently they have a friendly judge, a couple of them, because basically the court says the DEA must explain its failure to act upon the pending marijuana cultivation applications. So, in brief, these applications, as Dr. Sue Sisley says in that panel, and last week we had the video of her talking about it briefly. You can watch our show for the clip, or watch her full panel. It's great. And but basically, there's over 24 applications for someone other than the University of Mississippi to grow swagweed for research. And they've been doing that for a long time, ever since it was created, ever since they were trying to do research to the harms of marijuana. The University of Mississippi has been the only place that can grow marijuana, cannabis for research. And it's, as the story says, in The Hill this week. Chela, you want to talk a little bit sum up what they were saying in The Hill about essentially the problem with the situation in Mississippi?
Well, it sort of nullifies every U.S. test that's ever been because it's such swag weed. Just like we were talking to Mel Frank about. So, The Hill reported on it. Dr. Sisley talked about it when we saw her at Microscopes and Machines, and we talked to Mel Frank about it in our yard last week.
We did.
Yeah. This week. So should we move on to that?
Oh, you ready to? Shall we move on?
Yes,
want to move on to the Mel
Frank?
It's
that time.
Well, it's pretty close. It's right about 5:00. But just real quick, in The Hill, 3 years ago, the DEA said they would remove roadblocks to cannabis research, and they still haven't. So the courts have now given the DEA 30 days. 30 days, a magic number. It's been 30 days. It was less than 30 days for them to respond to this petition, amended mandamus petition. And now the court has said, okay, that's reasonable. You've got 30 days. It's been 3 years since they've been requesting this. Congress has requested. We played Brian Schatz last week. The Congress has been pushing. The researchers have been pushing. And now the federal court in D.C. is pushing for them a response. 7,800 words or less, folks. Keep it brief. Over the DEA. Why you haven't responded to these applications. You've taken all their money. $3,000 processed on the credit cards of all these people doing applications. Barr said, we're going to look at it. We're going to check it out. Well, now the federal court is saying you better respond. So the DEA has to respond, and we will keep an eye on this story the latest federal cannabis lawsuit. Looks like we're going to see more action. Might see action on the other one soon too, but essentially they've got 30 days. The DEA.
It's a very exciting time.
It's very cool. So that's the Cannabis Chronicle for the week, guys. Subscribe over at dc420la.com. You can read all the stories we talked about in this first half hour over there, as well as a bunch of other stuff. And give us a shout during the week if you find a cannabis story you find worthy we should talk about on Sunday. You can shoot it over to dc420la at Gmail. Send us the link, and we'll throw it into the Chronicle. Because you guys are ever engaging in the chat, and everybody's got a wrench, and they can share links. Brian, you want a wrench? Let me know if you want a wrench. The wrenches are becoming overwhelming to Chela. She can't identify herself in the chat.
It's hard. Well, I used to keep track of who I spoke to and who I, who,
and the chat's exploding, right?
By finding my little wrench and then making sure I hit everybody between my wrench and my next wrench and my next wrench. And now there's wrenches everywhere, so I got to find another way to find me. That's all. It's no big deal. It's good for neuroplasticity.
Totally.
It's all good. But we'll see you guys in the afterburn.
That's right. Well,
we have a very special Mel Frank video for you.
That's right, we do. So make sure you do subscribe, get notifications. And if you did see the live show Wednesday morning, we had a couple of folks in the chat, so we did have a few live viewers. I think MDM was there. But you're going to see new stuff, guys. If you did see the live stream on Wednesday, which all the patrons, if you want to watch the whole raw thing, you can go over and watch that on Patreon. But we've got a nice little video together for you guys that's going to sum up our awesome time with Mel Frank. Visited us in our little garden out here, complete newbies on how to grow cannabis. We literally know nothing. As you saw Mel exclaim in that opening clip. But here you go, guys. Check it out. This is our time with Mel Frank on Wednesday morning, and we talk about a number of subjects as Mel Frank gets DC and Coach Chela growing with their babies. Enjoy the video, guys. We'll see you on the other side.
All right.
Oh.
We made it.
We made it. It's all happening.
We're so excited. We're here with Mel Frank.
Thank you so much, Mel Frank, for coming to join us.
Mel Frank has dropped by this morning.
Right.
Come by.
Well, I live 3 minutes away, so it's not too bad. This is really simple because it's late in the year. We're now, August 1st is tomorrow, which means these plants are going to flower naturally right now. Okay, so they're not going to grow a big root system after this. Okay, so 5 gallons is more than enough. You could get away with like 2 gallons, easy. And you might think of that because this here is a standard bag. That's about a 1.5 gallon, 1.5 cubic feet, I think, which would figure out to be, let's see, 1 cubic foot. It's a little more than 10 gallons. All right, so you could fill 2 of these. Okay. For that. This is, and that's, I would just put it directly in that. I don't think you need to put anything else in there because of the short season that you have. Put this under there. Otherwise, everything's just going to fall out. All right, let's start with, fill it all up. Or let's see if we can get stuff in. 4. Easy. All right, here we go. That's good. See, ordinarily, if you were starting in the spring, where you're going to get some big plants, there'd be things that you would put in here. You'd add some more fertilizers, basically.
Well, we'll have you come back in February.
Right, but you can just, if they actually did need additional fertilizer, you could just buy some liquid thing, right, and do it that way. Now, the first thing you do, even though the soil has a little moisture in it, you want to water the soil.
Okay. Right. Well, we happen to have some water right here.
Now, we had a conversation with some of our folks. Some said spring, some said distilled, reverse osmosis. What's the best?
Well, reverse osmosis and distilled should basically be the same.
Gotcha.
Pretty much, right.
How do you handle, you certainly don't buy spring water for your plants.
No, I don't, but I do use distilled water when I'm starting my seeds.
Okay.
And for cloning.
Ah, okay.
Just because the water here is kind of alkaline, and you know it has.
Want some gloves?
Yeah, you want some gloves?
Yeah, that's okay. I'm used to it. So this is starting to settle in some more. So now it's just a matter of which one you want to do. This one?
Yeah, let's do this one. He's crying for she's crying for some room.
A new pad.
All right, so let's get a little more water down right here. Yeah, you always want to make sure you're putting the plant into something that's nice and moist.
All right, cool.
You take a little marker out,
Awesome.
put it in there, so you always
know what it is.
You got it is. Put this little guy right in there. Or girl, we hope. It is a girl, right?
It is a girl.
It's a girl.
Okay.
It's off of a mother.
Go a little bit deeper there. There we go. All right. Just pack this around there. And do the same thing again.
All right.
Wash my hands at the same time. There you go. All right. You know, usually with a new pot, I put some in here.
Oh, really?
Just let it draw up. And make sure that you have water that's all throughout the whole pot. Okay, so that will just come right up in a matter of hours.
Right. And how often should I water it?
Well, you should feel it.
Okay.
And if it feels dry, an inch down or so, you definitely water it. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to keep it moist, but you don't want to drown it.
Okay.
You know, you got nice open area. It's not heavy shade at all. You're still getting light through here. And then this amount of sunlight's going to be fine.
Great.
Yeah. If we were starting off, earlier in the year, I would, suggest one thing I would put here is if you can find a little piece of rotting wood.
Rotting wood.
Right. The rotting wood just provides a huge reservoir of microbe activity. In fact, if you're digging a hole in the ground, it's also perfect.
Dig a hole, put some rotten wood in the bottom.
Yep.
Put your plant in.
Well,
your soil.
Put your dirt in.
Put your dirt in first.
And your amendments, you might.
Your amendments. Believe me, this would need a lot of amendments. This soil. And we have gophers. What do you do about your gophers?
The gophers, you have to cage them.
Cage them.
Yeah.
And catch them and cage them.
Yeah, they make cages, but I always made my own out of chicken wire. I doubled it, and just made a thing like that, and just make it form.
That was enough.
And it's enough. You just want to keep an area about that much.
Yeah.
So that they don't actually get to the base of your plant, which is just killing.
They do have a little dirt coming
You
out.
guys really are novices
Yes.
here, right? That's every step of the way here. I got to watch you.
Every single step. I mean, really, we are not. We do not know from this at all.
Okay.
But boy, I can move furniture.
No.
No. Newspaper.
Right.
Babe, do you have any newspaper? Okay, cool.
White is nice.
All right, cool.
Right, and then we can just put this one in there.
Lovely.
All right, now we want to get much more. You want
more.
To leave like this one here, that height is good, but in actuality, once we water it, it's going to settle a little bit, so you'll need a little more soil in there.
And I want to make a hole in the middle.
No, not yet. That's the last thing. Well, let's just burn this down a little bit. So it's going to do that as soon as we water it. All right, let's just water this thing now. There you go. All right. That'll work.
My godfather was an amazing gardener. Incredible, amazing. But we didn't spend a lot of time together.
So which one? We want to put this one next?
Sure. And is this all these little thingies good?
Well,
or
no,
how can we fix
that's why I looked at that immediately, because I thought you might have some sort of insect there, an aphid. Aphids could do that. But it's fine. I mean, not every leaf is going to be perfect.
Okay.
You don't have to worry about that. You have to.
Okay, cool.
But you do as a matter of course, you would, whenever you see anything that's abnormal,
Yeah.
you always look underneath, see if you see anything
Okay.
crawling around. Here. And best is if you have some sort of magnification with you, that also helps.
Oh, look at that.
So
I just have this in my pocket.
I always have something in my pocket. Right?
Wow.
But
How come you wanna?
okay,
Yeah, come see.
because some of them are really small, some of them are
Bugs.
microscopic, but I don't see anything moving.
Let's see.
Wow.
You can get little magnification things that'll go up to 60 times that are just handheld and they're
Awesome.
illuminated.
Oh, far out.
Yeah,
All
all
right.
these plants are going to be very happy to be transplanted.
Yes, they're gonna be very
They're-
happy.
They're kind of big for those little pots.
Tiny tinies.
Yeah.
Oh, that looks nice and.
But what you
nice
can
and
always
wet.
do is this. You put this
Uh-huh.
in here to say, hey, have I got enough room there?
All right, cool.
There we go. All right, let's put a little more dirt in here.
A little
too.
more dirt.
Yeah. Here, I'll bring this down.
Okay, perfect.
Very good. I think that's it. A little too much.
That's right.
Yeah, you want to leave some lip there so that when you're watering it, it's not spilling off the sides, you know. The other thing is, if we were doing this at the beginning of spring, I would probably bury the stem some. As long as you get a nice big hole, I would do that. The other thing that I would do if I was planting this in the ground, in fact, you guys might invest in this, is you should buy some, what do you call it, tanglefoot.
Yes.
Okay, you know
Yes.
about tanglefoot?
Well, I heard you talk about tanglefoot,
Yeah.
so I want tanglefoot and the B something or other that you use.
Oh,
The BT.
the BT. You're going to
BT.
need that once the plants are starting to flower.
Okay.
But the tanglefoot, you just can put it right around the stem.
Uh-huh.
The other thing you can do, which I also do, is I'll take just a regular, 12-ounce cup, plastic cup, cut the bottom out of it, put it over the whole thing like this. Then I just put the tanglefoot on the top of the cup, the rim of the cup.
Right.
And see what that does, it prevents anything from crawling up.
Yeah.
And the most important thing that you want to prevent are actually ants. Because what will happen is if you get a few aphids on here,
Yeah.
or really almost any of those insects, scale they'll also do it with, the ants will farm them. They'll come up here, they'll start spreading them all over the place.
No.
Yeah, they can really get you a good infestation.
All right, good. So
very
we'll get
good
a
at this
cup.
farming. So
All
then
right, cool.
we water this again.
All right. I need to pull a little thingy off of it.
And we'll put it under something. We'll put a plate under it.
Okay.
Now, since you have them in pots, one of the things you can do is, this actually feels pretty well watered already, but let's give it a little more.
Okay.
Is you can just, go right around the rim. That's it. That's good, right? As you can tell, also, if you're inexperienced with how often they should be watered, you just feel the pot,
Okay.
what kind of weight it has,
Okay, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and if it was out of, if it had already used this water up, this would be much lighter than
Right,
this
right.
now.
More like this one, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right, next your friend over here.
I'm not sure this one here is going to do that well, except that the leaves look very healthy. But I don't like the discoloration here. You know, let's hope that's not, don't have fungus. I would like to see some of the roots coming out of the sides here. But like I say, the top part looks good. So we'll just do this. Okay, put the little marker in here. Always got to do this. Because you'll never remember if you're a
Yes,
stoner.
no, you'll never remember.
What is that?
This is just like there's a buy food at the store.
You guys got such a great place here to grow all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, you would think something sort of gophers did everything.
That's why you got to take everything.
Here's everything you must have used.
I started some late, about mid-July, and they're in 5 gallons. And ones that I started earlier are in 15 gallons. And then most of my stuff's actually in the ground.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
All right. Really, with cages around them?
no.
No.
This is the first year I didn't use cages.
Okay.
Because I haven't had any problem in 10 years.
Okay, cool.
So they did get one of my plants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they did.
All right. That happens.
It's a little embarrassing, but they did.
You know.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was
rendered to Caesar.
It was the plant that I planned on smoking this winter. Because I tried different things and never know how well they're going to turn out. I mean, it's all good, but I want something exceptional or really different.
Right.
Looking for that unique flavor and fragrance.
Where do you get your seeds?
They just come to me. I've
Right,
always
of
had
course
seeds.
they do. They just come to
No,
you.
back in the 70s, I had about 200 land races.
Right.
Yeah. And I lost all of those, both on the east and west coast in 1983, and a couple of fluky things.
Yeah, fluky, rady kind of weird things.
Well, one was that basically most of my collection was in Oakland, and there was a fire coming up the hillside that approached what was my greenhouse, which was a shed with the roof taken off, and the firemen came and they broke down the door, took all the pot away, and I came home. Nobody was home at the time. I came home as the truck was leaving, and the street was wet, and all the neighbors were out there, and they all kept saying, "Boy, you were growing a lot of pot back there." They just kept bringing out these big black bags full of pot. So anyway, obviously I thought I was going to be busted.
Of course.
So I ran in, got my collection, filled 2 boxes with seeds, and brought it to a neighbor, and didn't go back for it for a few months. And when I did, instead of it being under his bed where he put it up in his attic. So that fried all those seeds. Oh, so that was that.
Oh, might as well have burned up in a fire.
My East Coast one, I had been there the summer before and had spent that summer pollinating and creating seeds from this huge grow. And so I wasn't going to partake the next year, but they called me in July because they were afraid they were going to lose this new crop. They had moved to a different place and was even bigger than the year before. Would have been I estimate about 2,000 pounds if they were successful.
Wow.
The year before they were successful and got over 500 pounds, and they should have just stayed there. It was a perfect place.
Yeah.
But they get greedy.
Greed.
They brought in a couple of dope dealers.
Greed.
No sympathy for or affection for pot at all, other than that it was a commodity that they could sell.
Right.
And so that's why one of the reasons I didn't go in on it with them. I didn't like the crew.
Right.
But anyway, so they had a terrible year. There was a drought in New York that year. They moved to a high elevation that had terrible soil. And they're wondering why they're not growing. They're kind of yellow and sickly. Well, they don't have any water and they don't have any nutrients here. So I set that up and got them growing. But what happened in terms of the seed collection is that when I got there, I got to the first, looked like actually a field of corn. It's very bad for camouflage, but I said, well, these here are doing pretty well. And I said, what are they? And he said, they're your seeds. I said, well, I figured they're my seeds, but which ones are they? He says, I don't know, I just mix them all together. What difference does it make? They're all great. And I was just like, oh my God, you know. And I didn't yet know that I was going to lose the collection back there. But I mean, I was heartbroken. That was a whole summer of work going down the drain.
I asked Mel about his involvement with the University of Mississippi that we've been talking about and their monopoly and how come they grow such swaggy weed.
Well, actually, what happened, I had visited there a couple of times and they never really gave me any information. I'll say that. They got a lot more information out of me than I got out of them.
Right.
They were, when I was back there in the mid-70s, to me, they're just some organic chemists, basically. And they were good at organic chemistry, but not so good at growing pot. But what happened is that the head of the program there, Carlton Turner, who later became Reagan's drug czar, he just called me out of the blue and just said, listen, we're hearing that there's this stuff out there on the West Coast called Sinsemilla. I said, yeah. He said, is it possible that you can go around and collect, give me a sample of the buds and some seeds from that? So I didn't tell him that, well, Sinsemilla, it doesn't have any seeds. But I said, sure, I can do that. And the reason I said that was because the way I operated at that time is that I would grow a number of different varieties in this greenhouse I had, and I would pollinate all the females that looked like decent, good plants, and I'd just pollinate a few lower buds on each plant, enough to give me at least 100 seeds, 100 and 200 seeds. And then I would smoke test those plants over the winter and determine what's worth it and what isn't worth it.
That was your lab.
Right.
That was my lab.
Yeah.
You had to smoke test.
Yeah.
So anyway, I already had those because he called me at the end of 77. I already had all my little film canvases with a bud, unmanicured bud, that was full of seeds. So I was just going to give him samples from that, which is exactly what I did.
Right.
But also what I happened to have done that fall was I had pruned a Mexican plant, which I thought was, I had grown it before. It was a good, not fantastic. I wanted like kind of a representative cannabis plant. And I pruned it in such a way that I got about 7 or 8 really nice colas that were pretty much the same size. And I started a time study to see when it reaches its highest potency and what happens to it after that. Does it go down? Does it stay the same? So I took, I think it was about seven samples, 2 weeks apart, then 1 week apart when I thought I was near peak potency. So I also had those samples in there. So when I sent them the samples, I think I sent them 9 land races, and then the rest were all from this study. So I didn't tell him that, of course.
Right.
But I did this.
Wow.
I gave him this stuff on the stipulation that he would send me a complete cannabinoid breakdown of all the tests, right? Which he did do.
Oh.
So I learned some stuff from that.
Yeah.
But I gave him Cambodian, I gave him Thai, I gave him Afghani, I gave him Mexican, of course, a Chiba Colombian, Nigerian, Congolese. I gave him a nice mix.
Yeah, a good selection.
Right. So.
Do you think the reason they only produce such swaggy weed is because they wish to skew tests on cannabis flower?
No.
No? You don't think they're that sinister?
No. I'd have to see the grow and what they're doing now to determine that. They're probably just not really, they don't really care. You know, if they've got DEA blood in them, then they really don't want you testing it and saying how good it is, or they don't want to give scientists it and to actually give us some true information rather than the crap that they put out.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's amazing how thoroughly they hid the real information on cannabis because, you know, it was used in this country and it was used, you know, for millennium in terms of medicine. But in the USA alone, I think there were over 100 scientific papers published on medicinal properties of cannabis tinctures in the 19th century.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And all that stuff was hidden.
Yeah.
I think when Jack Herrera went trying to do research, they claimed this stuff didn't exist.
Right.
You know, things like the movies and stuff that they did on you know, Hemp for Victory and stuff like that. So I mean, the only way Jack got all that he did get was by just sneaking back into the stacks himself and finding his stuff.
Yes.
So right now, hemp, the majority is being grown for the CBD.
Right.
Right. And they're just calling it hemp. To me, it's really marijuana varieties that are high in CBD.
Yes.
You know? Yeah, I mean, true hemp that you're growing for the fiber usually has like maybe 1-2% CBD. That's typical, you know? So, I mean, they're growing stuff that's in the teens or maybe 20% CBD. So it's kind of weird for me to hear them calling it hemp.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's too many places that are actually growing it for the fiber. You know, I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
But
maybe in Kentucky.
You know, it's an incredible labor-intensive thing to process that, and that's fine when you're, you know, some little town in Turkey or something. But you know, the production and the competition you have from regular fiber here, it's going to be really tough. Oh, this is Skywalker, huh?
Yeah.
The roots look good on that one. They're coming out the sides.
Yeah, this is more like what you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one, huh?
Cool.
And
vigorous root development.
See, these are nice and white also.
Okay. Yeah,
the
color.
Those other ones, I'm not so sure they're going to make it.
All right.
They probably will, because, I mean, cannabis is just a real survivor.
Yeah.
It's a weed, right?
Amazing plant.
To some people it is. To others, it's a savior.
Well, it grows as a weed.
All right, that's a little too deep.
Too deep?
No, that's okay. Yeah, that's all right.
Novice here.
All right.
Black thumb.
Black thumb, okay. But let's really want to make sure that anything that those roots touches is nice and moist.
Okay, cool.
Right, we'll want to put this in, because you'll never remember.
Never? Not in a million years.
I never do. Well, I remember, I just get confused between them.
This one was this and this was this. It's one of those. One of those.
We have our garden.
Again, you can just feel the weight. Oh yeah. See, these are really heavy, yeah.
Okay.
So these are well watered. You're not going to need to water these for probably a week.
All right.
Because
And I can use hose water.
yes, you can.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll do fine now.
I like hose water. Hose water's good.
Right, it's a lot easier than going and buying that other stuff, right?
Are you participating in any research studies now?
No, what I'm doing now is I'm providing content for Green Flower Media.
Right.
That's pretty much what I'm doing, other than my own stuff. I also work, advise Clade 9.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they're building out a new grow here in southeast LA, which I'm real happy about.
Nice.
Because, you know, they have places in Vegas and in Phoenix, but they're from this area, so they're real happy about coming back here now.
That's great. In southeast LA,
I'm real happy about it because I'll be able to do some breeding right here.
Right.
Right. So that's pretty exciting.
Very
But I do my own little breeding also. I mean, I always do. So.
Yeah. I'm looking for a cultivar that is a 1-to-1 that's high in alpha pinene, linalool, and myrcene.
Good luck.
How do we find such an animal?
Well, I would start with a diesel. The diesel that I grew came out almost 50-50. It was like 8.7. And
that's fine.
I don't remember seeing the terpene profile on it. I'd have to go back through my papers and see what it had. Of course, it'll have myrcene. They all have myrcene. You know, I mean, it's what they train dogs to smell.
Okay.
Right. It wasn't. Cannabinoids don't have any fragrance.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
Yeah. I just have to see the profile, but I actually have some of those feminized.
Yeah, because those would be really great for people living with dementia and people trying to prevent dementia.
Okay.
At least it seems. I have a research book this thick that shows all the studies that show that cannabis helps dementia, because cannabis helps dementia.
Okay.
But they're not so much.
You know, there's
looking into
another
those
book you
things
should probably get, which is it's not current. It's really a collection of all or many of the medical papers that were done before the Tax Act.
Ooh, yes, I would like that book.
That's by Dr. Todd McCurry.
Oh yes, Dr. Todd McCurry.
It's called the Marijuana Medical Papers, I
yes.
believe. Right.
Yeah.
No,
Dr. Todd McCurry.
You can find it.
Uh-huh.
You guys look for it maybe on eBay or something.
Yeah.
And Dr. Todd
Amazon.
McCurry is the
Amazon.
Co-founder of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians.
Got to get it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm a member of the outreach committee of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians.
Oh, great. Yeah. No, Todd, I mean, that was one of my regrets in life. I don't have too many of them, but that I didn't work with Todd some, you know.
Yeah.
When he came, I mean, my book had just been published. He came over to my place and we talked and stuff, but, you know, I was interested in, you know, potency and developing really great stuff. And so the medical was like way in the background for me.
Yeah, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And now folks coming up are also finding that to be lacking in a way also. Like they get in for potency
Right.
and all this, oh, rah, rah, rah. And then they're like, oh, wait a minute, the fastest growing demographic using cannabis today are older people.
Right.
And they need it for medical reasons.
Yeah, you know, and one of the reasons is when you're old, you start to collect little infirmities. So, you know,
Yes.
you have this pain here or this, or you got arthritis or something else.
Yeah.
So sure, yeah, that's who calls me. It's always people who are like 60 on up.
Sure, sure. Well, we are the fastest growing demographic, and we're the ones that are going to really sustain and bring cannabis out of
the
dark side. You know, that the bro hoodie, you know, rah rah culture. Right. When more older people who use it for medicine come forward and say, "Yo, we're using this for medicine. You need to normalize this. This needs to be off the Schedule 1. We need it." I mean, right now, 1 in 3 people live with some form of dementia. Soon it's going to be 1 in 2.
Really?
And it's going to bankrupt every single country.
Yeah.
Working with people living with dementia, in terms of care. So we need to find some other way, and cannabis grows everywhere, and it's the best medicine, and it might even prevent some stuff. So,
do you think there will be an evolution of strain names, or do old people have to keep going in and asking for green crack?
You know, I always named mine Mexican 37.
Right.
It was the 37th Mexican seed group that I was going to keep, right?
Yes, yes.
What generation?
Right. So,
Location?
And the only one that was different was Afghani 1, because I already had about 6 or 7 Afghanis, but it was easily the best one in terms of potency. So I just said Afghani 1 before I gave it to anybody. I gave that to Skunk Man Sam too. Right?
Yes, yes. Well, what can you do? This has been a delightful encounter. I thank you so much for coming over and showing us what to do.
Great to meet you guys.
Super novices. Cool.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for being here.
Most enjoyable.
Absolutely.
Can't wait to see how all this comes out.
Absolutely. Well, breaking news. The dun dun dun. That was Mel Frank. That was a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, this guy, he knows his stuff. Mel Frank is not a slacker. I mean, he's not a legend for nothing, folks. That was great. That was a lot of fun. Chela did great. We learned so much. We learned primarily, one of the most important things we learned is how to pick a clone. Because remember that one he said, well, he's not going to make it? It died literally the next morning. I'm like, oh, he doesn't look good. She doesn't look good. And she didn't make it. There was, I guess, there's also water on the bottom. There apparently was a fungus or something under there, and he said he was not sure if it was going to make it. He was actually worried about 2 of the clones. He mentioned 2 of them. One had something very disturbing underneath, and it said the leaves looked good. But the next morning, I did nothing else to these guys other than what I did to everything else. Exactly what we did for all the other ones. And the next morning, the Hades OG, poorly named Hades OG, was wilting, and I'm like, I don't know if that guy. I think Mel may be right about that one. I don't think that one's going to make it. And everything I didn't do anything different. Everything was the same with all of these guys, and it just kept dying and dying, and it just died. And the other one, he said it didn't see roots coming out the side. He's like, I don't see roots coming out the side of this one. That's the Skittles, blue Skittles. That one's it's having some trouble. It's not thriving. It's not dead, but it's not, catching. It's not really going off. I don't think the roots have had a chance to get out of there yet. Need some good vibes for the blue Skittles. The Hades OG is in Hades. Okay, so here's what we got that looks like it's gonna make it. It's just amazing to me. He nailed it. He's like, this does not look like it's gonna make it. I don't think, maybe it will. Maybe it will. Oh, the ones that were gifted that were older, those are great. Those are doing awesome. That's a skunk, skunk 1, which I believe is one of Mel's strains. that he created. And Jed, you heard Jed chime in there, Farmer Jed, who actually brought that skunk one from seed, the mother, and then made a clone. So we have a clone from the mother of Jed's skunk one seed. And the other one is a green crack, which is also from one of Jed's seeds. That's why I asked about green crack. And the other two that, like I said, the Skywalker's doing great. The Skywalker OG clone is looking strong. Green crack. Oh, and maybe Blue Skittles. Blue Skittles is now Blue Skittles. Here, let's ask you guys. I asked Mel. I said, because the other. So we figured the green crack and the skunk are ready to go into flower, and there's not much more we can do there with those guys because of their age. The other two are literally coming from clones. They're small. Should I put them under some lights and keep them vegging to get them bigger for a while and see if I can extend the season a little bit and actually get those to be a little bigger? Because I don't see those flowering anything at their sizes, They're too little. I got to veg them for a little while, right? Don't I? I've been keeping them under light at night so they, separate from the other two. I'll, flower those other guys and see what happens. But this is really our experimental season. It's late. It's August. Angle it a little bit. You got a glare. There you go. Down. Dang. Bingo. Right there. The book. Extra potassium. All right. Good to know. We have some nutrients.
We've got you folks who are all, not all, but so many people. Thank you. We've got you folks. We've got Mel Frank. We've got Ed Rosenthal and Mountain Girls book. We've got you folks to help us along, cheer us on.
We've got Tiger Bloom for the flowering portion.
When it comes to that time.
Supposedly that's pretty good. So about the ants, I found it very interesting, the talk of that how the ants really are the farmers of the pests, one of the farmers of the pests. And someone left a comment about cinnamon and aphids. So I did a little research about that, and I found that might be helpful. So I've added some cinnamon to the soil and to the top, as well as some diatomaceous earth, which is supposedly beneficial, or not beneficial, but doesn't harm the plants, but is deadly to anything with an exoskeleton. So that means ants. I know it stops ants. I've seen it in action.
Right.
So I know diatomaceous earth works for ants. And so aphids apparently are the same exoskeleton problem. And someone in one of the comments of last week's video said, yeah, that looks like aphids. Mel didn't see any moving around. I thought I saw one the next day.
Oh, really?
On that plant. I trimmed those leaves, as well as dusted the leaves with diatomaceous earth, and the soil created the Great Wall of the North, surrounding the base of the stem of giant. Keep the ants away from farming the aphids. So we're not going to overwater it. That was also something Mel said, very important. Don't overwater and make sure you check it. I've been checking an inch down. It's still moist down there. I say, see this dead guy? I know it's not a water issue. We watered all the guys exactly the same. I haven't added any more water. There's been a plate under them, a real plate under them, the whole time. There's plenty of water in the bottom of this plant. And
that one is just in one live.
There are no roots to take up the water. That's what happened. And it's either a fungus. We should call Cloneville, actually.
We should. I
should call Cloneville and say, hey, your Hades OG clones, Mel Frank says they're no good.
Well, I don't know
check
if I go that far.
Miss says check them. And the blue Skittles looks a little, maybe they haven't had a chance to come out. So now we know what to look like if we get clones. Make sure you've got nice, healthy leaves, nice white roots coming out of the rooting material. Healthy white roots coming out of all the areas of the rooting material. And he mentioned If you watch the full stream, you'll see all of the little tidbits. These are really the highlights. It was about an hour long, so there's about a half an hour bonus material that the patrons can watch over on Patreon if you like. And we're also going to put up some clips. We've got a clip about his photography that we're going to put up as a video, and some other discussions that we had that we're going to put up separately. But that was our growing experience. That was Get Growin' with Mel Frank. Mel Frank helps DC and Coach Chela get growing. So we're getting growing, guys. We've got 4 survivors, 3 really healthy, 2 healthy toddlers, 1 healthy baby, 1 sickly baby, 1 not quite ready to be in the pool. Blue Skittles. He said, I'm not familiar with this strain. I love the strain conversation too. Just Mexican 37.
Origin and generation.
Well,
with that,
1.
Let's move on to the afterburn.
The afterburn. All right, guys, that's the first hour. I hope you enjoyed our time with Mel Frank as much as we did. That was a blast, and we can't wait. He's going to come over in about a month and check out how we've done. So, and we'll keep you updated every week as to how we're doing with our girls. I'll have some video next week. Subscribe, get notification, guys. We are multi-streaming. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, DLive, Periscope, and Weed TV, the Cannabis Media Network. So whatever you do, wherever you are, do it now. Thumbs up, share, like, because we're going to shut it down and reboot for the Afterburn, where we go into the MST 420 theater and hotbox the mainstream media and their coverage of marijuana. We've got stories from all across the country and Canada today. So thanks for watching the first hour, guys. We will be back in just a little bit. Free the plant, free the people. Stay tuned. You might need to refresh.
In 2 minutes.
Pot for peace.
Ciao.